It's still saying, okay. Happy Tuesday, ReLive. How is everyone today? I have had a really productive day, but it's also been like I've bebopped all around campus today, you guys. I am sitting at 18,634 steps. And I'm happy to be sitting right now because my little toesies hurt. So it's been a bit since we've been here. Let's see, last month we talked about worms. This month we're going to talk about pivoting on purpose. So I hope everyone's doing well. We're winding down to the end of school years. My son has, I think, 7 days left, so he's very excited. He had game one of his soccer tournament tonight, and they won, so he was very happy about that. So I have been busy since I got up this morning. So I hope you guys are ready and excited to go over this topic with us this afternoon or evening. I have with us Bonnie Patterson, who I met via social media. Our paths just kind of crossed, like social media does. They just kind of put you with people. And so I've been following her page. I think it's been a little bit about a year now, Bonnie, that we first connected. And I really like what she does and her energy. So I'm excited to have her to ReLive. Thank you so much, Bonnie, for joining us. Let me tell you a little bit about her, and then we're going to jump right into our topic tonight, pivoting on purpose, create anew with confidence. So Bonnie went from server to online coach, building a #1 personal development platform for women. She is living proof of what is possible when you invest time in yourself and you trust your intuition. And I think that's hard for a lot of women to do. She recently pivoted, though, from full-time online fitness coach. So we're getting a little bit of everything tonight, guys. Fitness coach after successfully scaling her business to now focusing solely on educational content, courses and programs for women at various points in their journey. So she is a highly sought out speaker and mindset coach. So I'm so glad she carved time out for ReLive. She's currently mentors aspiring coaches online, and she's the host of The Boss Life with Bonds podcast, and has made it her business to equip everyday women with the tools to create extraordinary, purposeful lives. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to jump into these topics. What I'm really interested to start with, though, is how did you get into this coaching business? Like, what was your life prior to this, and how did this all unfold for you?
That is the question that opens up all of the answers to everything, right? So first of all, thank you for that just run through. That was beautiful, pretty spot on with that.
Awesome.
So I got into coaching because I was at a point in my life where I'd given up on myself. I was a single mom. Well, I'm still a single mom. I was a young single mom. I went to school for ministry. I thought I was going to become a pastor because as a teen mom and someone that had been through so much stuff, I was like, surely God's going to use my story to help people. So that's what we're going to do. Right. And I went into the field knowing that it would be hard. One, to get paid well, and then two, being a female and then being a single mother, like that's not really the picture perfect, hey, we want to hire you as our pastor combo. I was really naive, but I also felt that that's what God wanted me to do. And when that did not turn out as I thought it would, that among other things, I started to spiral downward. I had been waiting tables for like over a decade. And I was like, I thought that was going to be the big break. Like most people, you're going to get your degree and then you'll finally get the job you want. And then after doors kept closing in my face, all of my limiting beliefs started to bubble to the top again, that I was a failure, that I was an embarrassment. People didn't want to hire me because they were embarrassed of me. All of my fears and my limiting beliefs like just rose to the front. At the same time, I had found out my youngest son was they diagnosed him with ADHD. He got left behind because of standardized testing. So I pulled him out of public school to homeschool him myself. And in an effort to prove that I could do more than wait tables, I went and got a sales job with Hilton. So I was
Okay.
working Monday through Friday at nighttime at Hilton, waking up and homeschooling my kid with ADHD that I refused to put on meds. And then on the weekend, I would work doubles at the restaurant because that's where I was actually making money. And so
Mm.
I was burning like all ends of the candle. I was losing my mind. I was gaining weight from stress. I was drinking heavily because after I couldn't become a pastor, I was done. I was like, God, I thought that, like I was so mad at God, mad at church. I threw everything out the window
Mhm.
and just let myself go. And I realized I was reaching rock bottom when I'd show up for work and I'd be drinking something in a bottle and people are like, what is that? And I'm like, it's sangria. All right, I'm ready to work now. I realized that we were at a problem when I had to be high or I had to be drunk to go to just to be awake and function. So I was so depressed. I was so angry. I needed, like, if I wasn't high at work, it's kind of like an open wound. If you touched it, I would explode. I would break down crying. There was so much sorrow in my days. And I was like, dude, I need a win because this ain't it.
Mhm.
So I went to the gym. This is my third attempt at trying to, lose weight. I had multiple coaches that were not a good fit for me. And the third coach just kind of like took me under her wing. I was like, I really don't want to do this. I've had multiple personal trainers. The first guy used to make fun of me. The second girl, I'd come in there hungover and she never asked if I was okay. She was just ready to work me out. Like she didn't care about me. She was just doing a job. But this lady like really cared about me
Mhm.
and didn't tell me, oh, well, you smoke and you drink. Well, you're not going to lose weight. She just coached me and
Mhm.
continued to be patient with me and believe in me. I had to borrow some of her belief in me.
Mhm.
And as I kept showing up for myself, I started to notice like, yeah, I was losing the weight, but even more so, I was gaining my confidence in myself again. And that
Mhm.
light that had went out was starting to come alive again.
Mhm.
And I went from like, being intoxicated at work all day long and being so miserable to like getting employee of the month at Universal, getting a parking spot. Like once I got my fire up again, I became myself again times 10 because
Wow.
now I'm physically and mentally strong. I believe in myself. I'm confident. I realize that no matter what life throws at me, I can always pick myself back up. And I looked at what she did and she was just a personal trainer. She wasn't a life coach or anything like that. She was just my trainer at the gym. And I was like, I want to help change women's lives like she changed my life. And with my background in ministry, with my story of, single motherhood and overcoming obstacle and trauma after trauma, like I think that I need to go into life coaching. So I sought out certifications for health coaching and life coaching. And since I was really into fitness, the internet's like, hey, we noticed the things that you like. You like health, you like fitness. Do you want to be a fitness coach? And I was like, why the heck not? Pull that in.
Mhm.
So I got certified in all three. And that was my way out of serving. Like I didn't expect that to be it, but I started taking fitness coaching clients. Everyone watched my journey. Everyone knew me from church. So I was credible. Like people knew that I was a
Sure.
good person. So it was just like a match made in heaven. People are like, Bonnie's a life coach. That makes sense. Oh, she's a fitness coach. Yeah, we watched her journey. That makes sense. And so it was like getting into alignment where everything was just happening. Like I took a step and God would meet me like, here you go. I took
Mhm.
another step and he's like, here you go. So that's
Mhm.
how I got into coaching.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how you said something along the lines of God was going to use your story, but you thought it had to be as a pastor.
Yeah.
And God, that's so interesting because I've never heard anybody say that, but God uses all of our stories in so many different ways. And that's probably, I'm wondering like why it wasn't working because he's like, no, Bonnie, that's not what I want for you. I want you to do it this way. And then he starts meeting you and all these doors start opening. So that's really inspiring. Very cool. Very
When you
cool.
say
So,
that, it made me think of this story where, and hopefully this will like maybe speak to some women. There was an older lady at the church. My mother's a reverend.
mhm.
There's a lady, I was with all my students because I always had the bad kids because I was a bad kid. So like the kids that cause trouble love to hang out with Bonnie. And so I was with a bunch of students And this older lady walks up to me and she's like mocking me very like publicly. She's like, oh, there she is. There's the pastor. There's Carol's daughter. She's going to be a pastor just like her mom. You're going to be a pastor? Tell everybody you're going to be a pastor. Because I had just graduated. And then I just was kind of looking at her like, this is awkward. And she smiling the whole time. She's like, you know, they're not going to give you a church, right? You know, the Assemblies of God not going to give no woman no church. What you going to do, Bonnie? And I just remember like, I swear that had to be God, because Bonnie's mouth was zipped shut and like the most powerful words came out of my mouth. And I was like, with all due respect, my ministry is not confined to a church. Mm-hmm. So wherever God wants to use me, that's where he's going to use me. So that'll be my church. Have a good night. And yeah. I didn't realize, like, at that time, it really did hurt. And it planted a lot of seeds of doubt in my ability. But I'm also looking at it and I'm like, yo, like that lady didn't even realize like what she did. Like she planted a seed of, God, you're thinking small, Bonnie. You're thinking you can only reach people in here. So wow. Dream bigger, ladies.
Definitely dream bigger. And I think that's hard for women to do sometimes. And I don't know why. Maybe it's even hard for anyone to do. I don't even want to put a gender on it. Like, it's just sometimes it's those limiting beliefs and, you know, like, I can't do that, or I won't be successful, or you listen to other people, like, you know, what would have happened if you would have listened to that lady? You know, if you were like, you know, you're right, I probably am not going to get a church. So back to serving I go. Like, you know, what would have happened? And I don't know, what has been your experience in trying to overcome and build that confidence up? Like, I don't know, what you said, you know, it was working with your personal trainer. So what is the one thing you would tell somebody if they were having that issue?
The lack of confidence.
And just trying to overcome like those limiting beliefs. Like, go ahead and dream big. Like, you can do it.
So there's so many different ways to tackle that, but I'm going to go with the dream big one that you use, because that's the most straight, direct answer I can give. So I believe, and lots of people who are in the spiritual space, and you know, if you look up words, the word desire, when you break it down, the Latin root means of God. So I believe that your desires are of God. Whether you believe in the universe, source energy, the Easter bunny, whoever, those desires are placed in your heart for a reason. Because when I get, and I don't mean like selfish desires, like, oh, I just want to be rich and take, like the real desires, like I want to help people, or I want to get healthy, whatever it is, like those type of desires are divine. And when you pursue those desires, a happier you, a fulfilled you, guess what? You affect everyone around you. And if we all would actually pursue our desires versus playing small, and like you said, listening to other people's opinions, I did a live on that today, actually. We could all do that, this world would be so freaking amazing, but we're also stuck in our heads. And so for me, this is what's the word? Like a mind-blowing realization I came to just this year, was that I became confident in my physical appearance, but not truly in myself. My life coach, my therapist pulled that out of me, because he's like, I see you're confident in you, because I never liked my hair. I never liked my body. There were so many things about myself I didn't like. And so when I got into shape and I started actually caring about myself, I started, you know, putting on makeup and dyeing my hair colors that I actually like and all this stuff. And I got really confident in the external Bonnie. But deep down inside, those limiting beliefs, they say new levels, new devils. It's the same devils. They grow as you grow. So if you have insecurities at one level, once you raise up, like people think, oh, once my business is successful, I won't be insecure anymore. No, now you'll be comparing yourself to people even bigger than you could ever imagine. And those insecurities follow you. And that's what happened this year. As my business was growing, I was confident at the like small playing level. And now that I'm playing a little bit bigger, those insecurities returned. And I realized that the confidence I had been riding on was like external. And so I had to go do some more deep inner work and realize, where did the root of my insecurities come from? So for people trying to find their confidence, you need to get to the root of the lack of confidence.
Yes.
Who instilled in you, or what incident happened with you in your childhood or in your teenage years that reinforced this limiting belief that you can't do stuff?
Yeah.
Where did that come from? And when you can face that front to front, then you can start to do the inner work to unlearn that and realize that it's just a thought. It's not the truth.
Mhm. That's really good. And I think that's where the hard work comes in. Like you might have the outer confidence, but digging deeper it hurts.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, you got to sit with things, and that's not something that not something I'm here for anytime
Most people,
soon.
yeah,
Like
most people won't do that. And so,
hard.
yeah, that's why most people, to answer your question, why they don't follow their dreams, because that your insecurities come to the light. You know,
Mhm.
your fears, your greatest fears come to the light. What if
Mhm.
I fail? And most
Yeah.
people are so afraid to fail that they'd rather not try.
Mhm. Yeah, and you know that's very interesting because I have a son who will be 11, and I'm always talking to him like just try. Like what happens? So it doesn't work out or so you failed. Like I'm like, you know, we've got post-it notes because somebody tried and failed. Like that post-it notes came from a failure.
Yes.
But like it's hard for me to do that. You know what I mean? Like it's hard for me to try and do something even though I'm coaching it all the time to him. So it's just something that's really hard. Let's move from that into a little bit of the mind shift of you said going from a victim to a victor. So what kind of happened in that sense, and how did you see your business evolve, and how did Bonnie kind of flourish at that point?
So I realized, full transparency, I'm 35 years old. My oldest son is 21 years old. His conception was not consentful or consensuous. That's the right word.
Mhm,
Um, and so after that, I was in an abusive relationship from the time I was 14 to about 22. And he had told me this was not the father, this was someone else. He was like, no one, he basically instilled in my head that nobody would want me as a, a 14-year-old mom, like who's gonna want you. So basically, like, this is, I want you, so you should, be happy. He's extremely controlling, extremely abusive. He told me I was never gonna be more than a waitress making $2 an hour, which is how much the rate was back then.
mhm,
And I kind of, like, how when you're younger you have all these ambitions, hopes, dreams, you're happy, you're go lucky, and after having that traumatic event happen and having so much, just having it beat down in my head that I'm not valuable, and then
mhm,
getting into that relationship in my most formative years from 14 to 21, being with someone that made me feel like I was an object. um I just kind of like shut down and just kind of like
mhm,
went with the flow, whatever. I guess I would fight back every now and then, but he would always, he had a stronger personality and he was physically stronger than me. And
mhm,
so after so many years of being conditioned to, no matter what I do, I can't win. When I was, when I was being held down and that happened, I couldn't fight back. I couldn't save myself. When I'm in
mhm,
this relationship with him, I can't break free. I don't have it. Right. And when I finally broke free from him, and I was a single mom, and I went, why do I keep saying that? You guys know I'm a single mom. So I was trying to prove to myself and to him that I could do it without him, right?
mhm,
I can pay my bills on my own with my two kids. I'll find a way to get my car fixed. I don't need you. Like, I'll figure it
mhm,
out. And I started like waving this banner of, I'm a struggling single server mom. Like, that was my story. And I didn't realize
mhm,
it, but to anyone that would ask, I played that story as loud as I could. And I
mhm,
didn't realize it, but now that I'm looking back, the reason why we will stay in uncomfortable positions is because we're getting some sort of benefit from it, whether it's comfort or one of our human needs or our personality needs is being met. And my need for being cared for and taken care of was being met with the victim mentality. And so what did I get from being the struggling single mom server broke Bonnie? What did I get from that? Well, I got benevolence from the church. I got grace from my employers for my faults, like showing up late to work. Oh, well, it's Bonnie, and she's got the two kids. And so I use that to my advantage. Like, it's
mhm,
embarrassing as hell, but like, I was also really young and unaware. But that's what I
mhm,
was doing. I was using my victim story to, oh, I can't pay my rent again. And, oh, I can. And yes, it was hard, but it was
mhm,
also me not taking responsibility, me with poor money management. But
mhm.
I benefited from that victim story. And
Right.
so when I woke up during the days of me with the trainer, and I didn't really realize what kind of inner work I was doing, but I was doing a lot of inner work. I was like, dude, like, I don't want this to be my story anymore. I don't want this, like, cars getting repossessed. I've had repossessions. The lights always getting cut off. Like, it's always something. I'm tired of this story. And I
Mhm,
can change my story. I can change my story.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I wanted to speak because of the whole pastoral background. And I had always, been speaking in high schools and telling my story. But I felt like something was missing. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you survived rape and you survived all of these things. But like, what now? Like, you're just going to talk to people about how you survived? Like, not for nothing. Almost every woman has been sexually assaulted multiple times in their life. What else can you bring to inspire people? And I was like, I don't want to just be a survivor. I want to thrive. So then
Yes.
that's the wheels in my head started turning. I was like, how can I show teen moms? How can I show women who have had their self-esteem, their confidence, their dignity broken down to nothing? How can I show them that anything is possible? And that's kind of like my mission. That's why I go hard.
That is so awesome. Yeah, that's a really good, really inspiring story to hear about that. I didn't realize that you had a child at 14. That's was probably something difficult and definitely part of what made you who you are. And I think probably ignites your fire even more so than that's cool. That's cool.
100%.
So let's talk a little bit about, since you've, told us that you're a single mother, let's talk about how you balance life with all the things, being a business owner, mentoring, dating, all of that. How do you find time for all of the things? And you have two boys?
I have two boys and they're both over 6 feet tall and they eat so much.
Mine, so I'm 5'7.5", and my 10-year-old comes up to here. Like,
Yep.
so
Yep.
he's going to be really tall. And he also, I'm afraid of what the grocery bill is going to look like when he gets older. It's already bad.
Yeah, it doesn't. Oh my gosh, the growth spurts are unreal. Like, it'll be normal for 1 month, and then it's like, oh, we spent $1,000 in groceries this month. No big deal. So,
Yes.
but
Inflation is not helping either.
and your husband, you said?
Oh no, I said inflation is not helping.
Inflation. Oh yeah, no. I don't know where you're located, but Aldi's has been a lifesaver. So
yes, that's where I do most of my shopping. But even the prices there have increased. I'm like, what?
Okay.
You want me to pay $1.39 for a dozen eggs? What?
No, yeah, I did notice the egg increase. And I was like, I'll go to my grandma's farm. She's right around the corner.
I know. I'm like, who do I know that has chickens?
See?
Maybe I can get a chicken or two.
You probably can. I know too many people in neighborhoods that have chickens. So, so as far as the balance goes, and I was just talking to you about this before we hopped on, is something new that I started was a time audit.
Okay.
At the end of the night.
Tell us about this.
Okay, so all of my business coaches told me to use Google Calendar, and I have iPhone, so I'm like, I'll just use my iCalendar. It's fine. And then I realized, like I told you, like certain things, like iCalendar is not nearly as efficient as Google Calendar, and that has helped me with so many different things because I can color coordinate the time blocks. Purple is my favorite color. So anything that is a personal block is purple. Money making activities for the business are green, that sort of thing. But the thing that has helped me the most as a mom, especially, is realizing that I cannot do all of the things every single day. It's not going to happen. I burned the F out last year trying to do lives and do everything. And I'm like, this ain't going to happen. So learning to honor seasons. And this is something I tell my long-term fitness coaching clients as well. When they're like, well, I haven't lost any weight in a while, or, I'm gaining weight back, or I don't have time to go to the gym that much, and I don't have time to prep my food. I'm like, boo, 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 boo. This is your lifestyle. Like, I don't teach get skinny quick. I don't do that crap. If you're working with me, it's going to be like for 4 months minimum, or like most of my clients stay for the year or more because they need that support. And so I'm like, this is your life. You are a woman who exercises and you eat well. This is not a sprint. And you need to understand that in life, shit's going to come up. So there are seasons where I am at the gym, like I'm in a season right now where I'm at the gym at 4:30 a.m. It is a priority to me right now. So I will wake up and go, not 4:30, at 5 a.m. And then there's other seasons where I message my coach, because I hired a coach to keep me on check. And I'm like, hey, coach, I'm not going to be working out or walking 10,000 steps. I'm going to be doing what I can. We're going to be maintaining this season. I'll make sure I get my water in. I won't go crazy with the food, but 4 workouts a week, it's not happening. Right. And I honor that. There are
Mm-hmm.
seasons where I was taking vacations once a month or staycations because I deserved it. F that. I
Mm-hmm.
busted my ass. And then there's
Right.
seasons like right now where I'm like, that's not a possibility. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
just not happening. And so just kind of realizing that you can't do all of the things all of the time. Seasons come and go. There's going to be some seasons where you are like super motivated to work hard and do all the things. And then there's going to be other seasons where it's just like, yo, this is my family time. And like business is going to have to take the back burner. But also just doing an audit of yourself, especially if you're a business owner or you're an aspiring entrepreneur or you have a project or like a passion project, something that you're trying to do,
Mm-hmm.
you told yourself you don't have time for it. Do for like a week or however long you need to. At the end of the day, go back and look at what you were doing all day long during your busyness. Like,
Yeah.
clients say they're too busy to log food. I'm like, but you watched all of my stories today and I post a lot of stories. You don't think that you could have been logging food while you were just tapping away?
Right.
Try
Right. No, I totally get that. I would probably be afraid to see. I've started keeping like books on my table next to my recliner because oftentimes I'll have my phone and I'm like, do, 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 just scrolling. I'm like, okay, let's be mindful, put that down, pick up the book and, read a little bit. And that's something that I've been trying to work on and something you talked about. And I find that it's interesting. And somebody said this to me one time is about diet and nutrition. And they said, like it is for a lifestyle. Like, why are we doing something today that you're not willing to do the rest of your life?
Oh, I like that one.
Right. And that totally like smacked me in the face. It's like, yeah, why would I do that? So that's something I've always struggled with is nutrition. And I hate to track my food and things of that nature, but whatever. But
Finding what
that
works for you.
yeah, exactly. And people always pushing like you have to do this and you have to do that. No, I have to do what works best for my life. That's what I have to do and how I can survive. And getting out of that like all or nothing mentality.
Ooh,
Like,
yeah.
because I'm definitely like, well, I said I was going to do this. And if I'm not going to do it all, well, I guess I'll just wait and we'll start again on Monday or something. But no, just do what you can. So that's interesting. Okay, let's move on. So making the switch. So you recently, and I am interested to hear what you say about this, making the switch from entrepreneur to CEO. And how has that been like a mindset shift that has kind of propelled you into a different direction? What's going on there?
So I don't know why I started echoing. Do you hear that?
No.
Okay, well, cool. Uh, so when you're like just starting out, you're the entrepreneur, you were doing everything in your business. And I recently realized a term called founder. I'm in like a cohort right now that's from founder to CEO. And it really
Okay.
illuminated to me that when you're the entrepreneur in your business, you're doing everything. Everything is your job. So you are still
Mm,
a founder. You get to be the CEO when you are now able to delegate tasks and you get to focus on your biggest area of strength. And my biggest area of strength is speaking, teaching, and coaching. So
mhm.
now I have two virtual assistants, one that does administrative work and one that helps me with social media, client fulfillment, and that sort of thing. And then I also have someone that edits my podcast for me. And up until like a month ago, I had someone that was running Facebook ads and marketing for me. And
Awesome.
so it's been interesting. It's been a blessing. It's been a blessing. A lot of lessons learned. But the mindset that it takes, they've all said this. They're like, what got you here will not get you there. And that applies to
Mm,
all areas of your life. The Bonnie that had to believe that she was able to make 5K was a totally different Bonnie that could believe that she can make 10K a month. That is a totally different Bonnie that can believe that she can have multiple 6-figure months. And
yes.
that's like where we're thinking at. And it's you step into the higher version of yourself with each time you level up. And
Mhm.
what I've noticed, and this is something that I teach, is that when you are noticing resistance to anything, weight loss, your business, anything like, oh, I'm afraid to speak, or when you're noticing resistance to going to the next level, it's going to come from two places. Either it's your shadow, you guys
Mhm.
are familiar with the term shadow, or it's your inner child. And what I mean by that is like it's your shadow that is like not like it's both. There are versions of you that are not ready to go there yet.
Mm.
If it's your inner child, there may need to be some healing where you go back and let that that traumatized child who's afraid to be her true self because people told her that she couldn't be, or that girl that got abused and was told that she'll only be a $2 an hour waitress while she's trying to run, and build an empire. Whenever I feel resistance, it's literally a piece of me that is scared to move to the next level. And then that's when I'll sit and do some work with myself and dig into where is this resistance coming from.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
really good.
that, like, it's scary. Like, you think, oh, when you just make more money and then it will be happier. Oh, you just build the business. No, like, every time you take a bigger step, it's like you're in a new arena. I think the best metaphor is like when I became a personal trainer, I worked at UFit, which is like a family gym, kind of like Planet Fitness, but it has personal trainers. And at UFit, it's very comfortable, non-intimidating. It's something like a YMCA almost. Like, everyone feels good there. And when the big box gym Crunch opened up, I walked into Crunch like as a coach, and I felt like this big. I felt so small. The women in there looked like show ready. They were like full faces of makeup. And I was just like, wow, okay. I thought I was a confident coach, but like now here's the real, like, coach.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like, you have to evolve. You have to continuously evolve and step into the new version of you.
Wow. Wow. I just noticed the time, but one more thing before we go, if you don't mind. I want to talk a little bit about, because I've seen this kind of unfold on your stories, is manifesting our dreams and like putting it out there and making it happen. So what can you tell us a little bit about that?
Your words have power. Whether you are like, if you're a Christian or if you're just spiritual, whatever, like across the board, no matter what practice you have, it's very evident that you get to create your life. I've had clients who have focused so heavily on something negative, like a specific story. I had a client that was pregnant and she's like, I hope my child doesn't have this. And I was like, I looked it up. I'm like, this is an extremely rare disease. Why did this pop into your head? She's like, I don't know. But she thought about it day and night. Every day she would look it up and she'd find it, and her child ended up having that. And as her life coach, I didn't say anything about that particular situation until like she had finished. And then she's like, wow, looking back at how much things I've spoken to existence because I've thought about them. And so you are always manifesting, all of us. When you speak, the words that you speak, the limiting beliefs that we think and that we also speak, I like to think of your nervous system as the command center, and it responds to the words that you say. So if you're always saying I'm a failure, or I'm fat, or I can't do this, or I'm too lazy, or I don't know how to do this, you'll notice responses in your body. Like, you'll either get excited or you'll get sad or you'll get triggered. It's like the movie from Disney, like I think it's yes. So like your body is like, well, this is what she believes, so this is what we have to act upon. Yes. And when you change that story, when I started saying people love to pay me, I'm an amazing coach, I have this kind of business, those are the kind of affirmations that I would say. I would say, like, I'm stepping into my calling. I'm reading them on my wall. When I started speaking these things to myself every day, my brain was like, we're a good coach, we're this. And so now there's confidence. And it's like the subconscious is always working in the background to try to fulfill what you believe to be true. And so if I believe these things about myself, like, it's amazing the thoughts that come to your head when you start to pivot in the direction towards your calling and your alignment. Things will start to come to you. People are like, I used to wonder for years, why don't I get speaking opportunities, God? Why aren't these doors opening up? Because I wasn't ready. I wasn't confident. I wasn't walking in that. But it's like, now that I've done the work and I'm doing it, the universe is like, well, she's ready. Here you go. And so if you're trying to manifest something, make sure that you are in alignment with what you are asking for. Like, I've got this vision board. Connect with those things that you want to call into you. It's a whole beautiful thing, but you're always manifesting. That's the best thing I can tell you. Watch your words. Watch what you think about.
Yes. So how we met was, I think I told you I was working with a coach, Haley Morris, and she had me do, like, I call it all the hokey things, right? Like, do the vision board, write out the confirmations, say them. And I told my friend, I'm like, they're so silly, but I can tell the difference when I'm doing those things, when I'm spending that time reading those 3 affirmations, when I'm taking the time to write down things that I'm grateful for. Like, you feel a difference, and it's just really amazing. So I chuckled with her and I was like, you just got to do them, like you do, because it does make a difference. Wow. I think you've given us a lot of good stuff to chew on over the next few days. I really appreciate the time that you spent with us. Before you leave us, if there are people watching, which if you're watching the replay, hashtag replay, guys, um, where can they find you? If they're like, ooh, that Bonnie knows what she's talking about. I want to work with her, or I want to get more of her podcast. Where can we find you?
So the podcast is called The Boss Life with Bonds, Bons, and it's on Spotify and Apple Podcast. On Facebook, it's Bonnie Patterson, or the business page is Mind and then the word embody. A little play on words there because I teach women how to embody their highest self. If you are on Instagram, it'll be at Coach Bonds, one word, again, Bons. And if you're thinking more like fitness and lifestyle and nutrition, I have so many pages. That one is at Boss Bod Academy.
Okay,
So there's a
awesome.
lot going on.
Would you be able to put some of those in the comments on our Facebook thread when we're done?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Would that be possible?
Oh, absolutely. I'll put the hyperlink too. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for spending some of your evening with us tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And until next month, guys, thanks for joining, and make sure you hashtag replay. Bye.